Yes, I can hear you very loud and clear. We are outside the Coastlands Hotel where the ANC's now NEC meeting is taking place. Yesterday evening until the very late hours was the ANC's National List Conference, which was attended by 5 delegates from each province, from the Provincial Executive Committee, from the Alliance partners, along with ANC NEC members. But to further clarify these issues and not to waste time, I'm going to throw to the ANC's head of the presidency. Many people perceive him as the new smart Ngonyama, even though he will laugh that out. I'll just jokingly ask him, did you also join the struggle not to be poor?
No, I joined the struggle to serve the people of South Africa selflessly.
Well, Sisi Godwa, on a more important issue, compliments of the new year to you. The ANC's list conference kicked off yesterday. I'm going to dive straight into it. You've got court judgments, verdicts, against one of your own former ministers, former MPs who's resigned. Is Malusi Nkanyezi Gigaba on that list, the 200 list, national to national, to go back to Parliament after the elections this year?
First, we've got to appreciate what is the list about and how the list gets consolidated. At this stage, we're not yet at a stage where we look at some of the issues, including, for an example, the next stage now from the list conference, which was held last night, is vetting. Vetting will look at issues of the guidelines, number one. Number two, we'll look at issues of the guidelines of the IEC. We have made it very clear, for an example, that people with criminal conviction, there's no negotiation, we take them out. But there are issues of integrity. So this is the next stage of vetting, which include what are the, because we need a list of the ANC that is electable. In other words, we look at the character, look at the credibility and integrity. But at this stage, we are not yet in terms of deciding who must be or not in the list, because we are not at the stage where we are now started vetting the names to answer your question.
So you are saying at this point in time, as we speak right now, Malusi Gigaba is on his way to his direction where he says he will meet in future, which is the National Assembly.
We have not, nobody is guaranteed at this stage on the list of any position, or nobody is guaranteed that we are going to the National Assembly or a legislature. Because what is important is the next phase. The next phase may decide that certain names will fall off. And indeed, even people who are on the list have not been given an opportunity to accept or decline. So part of the next phase of vetting is that the ASA, which is the agency, will now give forms to everybody who's on the list to confirm your availability or your decline. It is only then the question will be more relevant, after people would have accepted and yet they still have got issues around their names.
When you look at society today and how topical the issue around the likes of Malusi Gigaba, Bathabile Dlamini, the Minister responsible for women in the presidency, when you look at these particular characters or ANC, NEC members and activists, do they imbue the character and the integrity of an ANC cadreship that was formed in 1912? And with the ANC's renewal project, with President Cyril Ramaphosa as embarked on, do they imbue that character of renewal, honesty and integrity?
Well, the list conference is not about to castigate the character of individuals. If that issue were to happen, we've got the integrity commission processes, if there were issues of character and credibility of individuals. We are here, among others, to consolidate the list of the African National Congress public representatives, which will go to the National Assembly and the legislatures in Parliament. That's why you see this People's Parliament gathered here last night, to make sure that this is a culmination of a democratic peregrination. We appreciate internal democracy of ANC branches, but there's another step after this, which will answer your question. Will these characters that we're sending to Parliament indeed be electable? And they imbuing the characters, revolutionary values of the African National Congress? It's an important question to ask. We can't run away. Will these people appeal and make the ANC attractable to the voters? Because it's not about us, it's about a voter. Hence, that question will be more relevant when we deal with vetting.
On a more direct question about the youth, is the ANC sending people to go to Parliament to sleep? We've seen a vast majority of some of your ministers, some of your MPs, basically becoming, the words of your opposition, and we're saying closer the spokesperson of the EFF, sleepists in Parliament. Are you sending the old guard to Parliament, or is it a relatively youthful delegation that you will be sending, or hopefully sending, should you win the 2019 general elections? How many people are young in that list? How many people are old? What's the general age percentage that's there?
A replenishment of leadership in the ANC comes naturally, because the ANC is not stagnant. At any given stage, whatever issues will come in the African National Congress, that's why you'll always see a progression of young people in one way or another. Whether you are talking about Peter Mokaba and others, that is a progression. They started being young, they occupied certain position in the African National Congress Youth League, and then they progressed. You will see even in the list, when we talk about old in the ANC, not in a literal sense, you will see that among others, there's been a progression of some of them from being the Youth League. But we're very clear in terms of young people to Parliament, because we need experience. We are building the future. That's why we are talking about 20%, for an example, of young people in all lists, whether it's national or legislatures. We need at least, not less, 20 young people, 20% of young people in all our lists.
How do you define youth? Is it people who are above the age of 35 or below the age of 35? The list that I have seen from province to province, province to national, national to national, there is very few, if any, individual who's under the age of 35. Ronald Lamula is over the age of 35. Colin Maine is over the age of 35. Even in fact, during when he was elected, he was called 34.9. You've got people, you've got Sipho Hlomuga and KZN, who's over the age of 35. There is no youthful person in these lists who's under 35. Yet your opposition, your EFF, your Democratic Alliance, may be sending people who are under the age of 35. How do you characterize youth?
We were very clear last night that among others, when we talk about young people, we must not talk in perspective or in broad terms. We must talk about real, proper young people. That's why in the next phase, in terms of the list process of vetting, there's what is called political intervention. Political intervention would look at which guidelines and broad principles which are not met in terms of the list. For an example, if you say 50% must be women in terms of gender parity, we must make an intervention, even if there was somebody who was somewhere in the bottom of the list, to make 40%, to make 50%, we'll lift up that person. We'll do the same with young people. If we don't find real young people, I'm saying real because in terms of the Constitution of the Republic, it's people who are 35 and below, we'll have to find them. Whether they're on the list is something else, but we have to find young people, real young people, as you say. But it's a next important phase because we want to meet all these broad principles and guidelines we have set ourselves and adopted as the NEC.
Esma Khashule says the former president is on the list to go to Parliament as an MP. Is former President Jacob Zuma going back to Parliament?
It's only for him to confirm, because this meeting is not asking for people to confirm or to decline. The next phase, it will then ask people, are you available or not? It's part of cleaning up the list. After that, you can then be relevant a question, whether indeed those who have been nominated, have they accepted? I'm on the list. Whether you ask a question, I'm available or not, it's not for me to say now, because I've not been given that opportunity. It's not a time for me to confirm or to decline.
So basically, former President Jacob Zuma is sitting comfortably on that list within the top 100 to go to Parliament.
Nobody is comfortable on the list, because as long as you have not completed and we have not won elections, and therefore you are not comfortable, you can only be comfortable when the ANC, overwhelmingly as we go on, we will work hard to make sure that we win decisive victory over the ANC. We can talk about comfortability. Nobody is safe, nobody is comfortable. It's for us to work very hard for the African National Congress to win elections, but we need a list that is electable. Very important. We need faces on the list of the ANC that have got characters, unquestionable and above reproach.
My last question to you, we're very strict on time now. One of your highly placed source leaders in the ANC, a source whom I may say, says to me about 5 minutes ago that Malusi Gigaba, it's going to be very difficult to send him back to the National Assembly after everything that he has faced. Is it going to be easy or difficult for him to go back?
I can only speak for the African National Congress, but not for individuals. Individuals will be given an opportunity as the second phase of the list process, whether to accept or not. But if there are issues that individuals may want to clarify with the organization, Malusi has clarified issues with the leadership of the African National Congress. And I don't think necessarily we must make him the issue of the list process. The list is about public representatives of the African National Congress, not just but one individual.
Well, that was Zizi Gota, as always trying to avoid questions on whether it's difficult for Malusi Gigaba to go back to Parliament or not saying whether they do actually, in fact, have young people under the age of 35 who are going back to Parliament, or it's the older generation who are above 35 who perceives themselves like Malusi Gigaba as the youth or the younger generation within the ANC, saying that the list process is going ahead smoothly. They're now in a phase where they are vetting people, and then after that they will be asking individuals whether they are available to go back to Parliament or not. Among those is the former President of the Republic of South Africa and the former President of the ANC, Jacob Msholozi Zuma.
Right, thank you very much. That was ANC reporter Samkele Maseko.